if Southampton set up in an ultra defensive way. I actually think that that would be a very, very bad idea to go. If you can't beat recently promoted Southampton quite comfortably, then what can you do?
Alright, hello and welcome to the MatchDayVlogs channel. Please be sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, because it really does make a difference to the channel. We're here for another opposition preview, and this time it's for Manchester United, the early kickoff at St Mary's Stadium. And I'm joined by Red Devil Studio. It's Old Man G, isn't it? You still going by Old Man G?
Old Man G, the YouTube channel is Red Devil Studio, but I am Old Man G, yes, as you can see of the hat. So yeah, it's all good.
Well, it's been quite an interesting start to United season. You kicked off the Premier League season at home against Fulham, a 1-0 win, and then since then, it's kind of not been so great. But if I may ask, what is going on in the pantomime that is Manchester United, and where are you at with the Ten Hag situation? Are you Ten Hag good? Ten Hag wait until it's over? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, Manchester United's been a drama for as long as I can remember at this point. And it won't be Manchester United without there being some talk of a manager being sacked, a crisis, or what have you. You know, Manchester United are always in a crisis of some sort. To be honest, I mean, the first game against Fulham, was fine. I think United ultimately got over the line, deserved to as such. One of the things I said, and I think we'll go into it when we talk about the game, is that going into the season I was always worried about Manchester United's ability to score goals without really having an experienced striker, or even wingers that are at this moment in time capable of contributing to goals. I felt that was always going to be a big issue, and right now, as you see, Manchester United have only scored 2 goals in 3 games. Against Brighton, I actually think the fair results will be a draw, but lapse of defensive concentration cost United, because whatever you say, Brighton away is always going to be tough. And then Liverpool are just in a completely different league to Manchester United at this point. And I think people thought that slot was going to just take time to adapt were poorly mistaken, So it'll be interesting to see, because obviously I think that this game, in a weird game, is a sort of a critical game for Ten Hag, because I think that people are expecting Manchester United, to comfortably beat Southampton, even though it's Southampton away. And I think if that doesn't happen, then I think the big questions are going, because with this game, it's a question of, if United win comfortably, okay, maybe this is a turnaround, it was a blip, let's see what happens. If United drop points, then it's like, well, if you can't beat recently promoted Southampton quite comfortably, then what can you do? And I think that will really sow the seeds of doubt in Ten Hag's mind. And then you're asking, well, is he even going to be around for Christmas? And the answer is most likely not.
Yeah, it always seems to be on the lips of many pundits. Like, how long's Ten Hag got, and how long is it going to last, kind of thing. I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, as far as I can see, United away aren't particularly strong. It's always been one of their weaknesses when they go out on the road. But whereabouts are United's strengths when they're on a good day?
That's United's strengths. That's a good. I mean, I'd say right now, United's strengths right now, certainly from the first couple of season, what you will expect is, I think they've got a lot more of the ball now. Ten Hag is trying to position this United team to far more of a possession-based team than just merely a counter-attacking sort of side. So I would expect Manchester United against Southampton, even against Brighton, which was dribbling away, United still had quite a lot of the ball. And even against Liverpool or Old Trafford, although we lost 3-0, if you look at the possession statistics of the game, United had a lot of the ball. They just didn't do a lot with it. So I expect the United team, strength-wise, to have a lot of the ball and to at least try and dictate what they do with the ball as their kind of major strength right now. And defensively as well, United have got more depth there. So I think they'll be a lot more difficult to break down. They're not conceding as many shots on goal compared to last season, when even against lower teams, United was still conceding anywhere between 10 to 20 shots on goal a game. Now, it's a lot harder to create chance against Manchester United, assuming Casemiro doesn't play. But yeah.
Are you not a fan of the experience?
No. Well, I mean, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, What I would say though is that I think that Ten Hag certainly has a decision to make as to whether he's going to start the new signing, Manuel Ugarte, who would obviously come in for Castaman's position. He has been playing on international duty, so it's not like he's not match fit. But knowing Ten Hag, he often tends to take time to ease players into positions. So there is a possibility that Casemiro will probably play. It'll be the same 11, and he'll give Ugarte time, maybe 1 or 2 games. But I think after Casemiro's performance, he probably might throw him in. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I was kind of wanted to allude to United weaknesses, or where you see Southampton punishing United if that were to happen. I mean, what aside from Casemiro, who you've already mentioned, are there any things that you're susceptible at the back, or any kind of areas of concern in the United squad?
I mean, the bigger weakness is always going to be, unfortunately, Onana, the goalkeeper. He's not a shot stopper. His distribution of the ball is okay, I guess. So I think he's best at commanding his area than De Gea. I think De Gea wasn't as good as commanding his area and ball distribution as Onana is. But as a shot stopper, De Gea was obviously far better, and Onana's shot stopping is not great. So, given the fact that Liverpool had the same amount of shots on goal and on target as Manchester United did, and all goals went in, it just goes to show you that. And not that Onana could have done much about most of them, but I do think that if Southampton can get a few attempts on goal and pepper them, probably one of them is going to go in. The other side, I think, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that United still aren't playing for an actual natural left back. Luke Shaw is probably not going to be available, I'd imagine. Malacia is still injured, so they are going to probably play Dallo there, who's a right back, who's doing a decent job, but fundamentally he's not a left back. And so defensively, United can be quite suspect down there, and also means that their build-up play a lot of the time, because of that, is actually from the right as opposed to from the left. So you see a lot of games where it would start maybe on the left and then ping the ball up to the right and work it that way, because there's just an imbalance in Manchester United because of that reason. And then finally, United, can't score. United are struggling to score goals, and so Højlund is not going to be back here either. So it's going to be the inexperience of potentially Joshua Zirkzee and an out of form Rashford, and really the only player up top that you need to be worried about is the likes of Garnacho and Ahmad on both wings, really. So if you shut out Manchester United sort of number 9, I think you'll probably, it'll be a lot easier for Southampton on the day. Let's put it that way.
I mean, what are your general opinions on Southampton? Obviously, we were relegated last time we had a conversation on our match preview. We've just come up. I mean, what are your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
It's not been a good start, has it?
The first 20 minutes against Newcastle were pretty good, and then the rest is really
It's sort of, because especially when you're playing against 10 men, I was thinking, maybe they'll be able to hold on to something, get a goal, get a draw out of this. The fact that it was still lost. Now, to be fair, Newcastle are obviously a different team than when Southampton were in the Premier League. So a lot more money, a lot more investments. It's a different Newcastle. Yeah. And it was obviously away at St James's Park, so it was always going to be a challenge anyway. Even for top teams, St James's Park is a challenge. Yes, it's not great. It's not looking good for Southampton currently. I still think it's early days, and I still think we'll see what happens. We're still kind of trying to gauge where different teams are. But it's certainly a far cry from the Southampton that had the academy and was running in a way where they were sort of, producing, good players from the academy, making intelligent sort of signings, trying to almost sort of like Brighton, what Brighton are doing right now in a way. Making good signings, but also bringing people through the academy that are quite good. That area for Southampton is lost. So I do think though that if they can get something from this United game, it could be a momentum booster taking Southampton forward. And like I said, Manchester United are very unpredictable right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if they drop points here.
How do you see Saturday's game going? I mean, it's an early kickoff, 12:30 kickoff. They say never back the early kickoff, but how do you see Saturday's game going?
I mean, like I said, it's an early kickoff. And obviously players come, because the thing is that you got to think about all the players that are playing for their clubs internationally. We've got a lot of players, so I don't think Casemiro has been called up, but I definitely know like Agate was called up to South America. I'm just trying to think anyone else. Possibly Ansi might have been called up as well. The likes of Ahmad was obviously called up for the Ivory Coast squad. So the United have a lot of internationals. Obviously the England players that were there were still there. So for the internationals that are playing in Africa and South America, I don't think they have an Asian yet. So in Africa and South America, they're obviously going to be flying in and coming in a bit later, and so an early kickoff isn't going to be ideal for those players. Obviously, your England-based players, your Kobe Mainus, sorry, I said Lisandro Martinez is the other defender as well. But obviously your English players, your Kobe Mainu, your European players like De Ligt will be fine. But United do have quite a few African, South American players in Mazwari and another one that's there. So that might be a factor, I think. And I think it'd be interesting to see what Ten Hag's selection will be in that respect, because if he bears that in mind and maybe starts a little bit, in quote, weaker. So instead of Lisandro Martinez, he'll play Maguire. Instead of Agate, he'll play Casemiro because Casemiro wasn't called up, for example. Instead of Matsawari, he'll play Delo and another thing. So he might. I wouldn't be surprised if Ten Hag goes a little bit weaker because of those reasons. But on the other hand, Ten Hag also probably knows that he's under pressure, because if he doesn't get 3 points from this game, it's really going to be like knives out, because you've got, I think after this game they're like away to Crystal Palace, and then we've got 3 away games basically, and then 3 away to Palace, away to Southampton, away to Villa, and then at home to FC Trent in Europa League. So there'll be a lot of pressure, because it's like, well, if you can't beat Southampton away, then really what chances do you have to face stronger teams in Palace and Villa away even? Yeah. So I would suspect, I still think despite all that United will find a way, especially given the Saints struggling, and also the fact that United are able to hold onto the ball more. So, but I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, So I would expect something on the lane of like a 2-0 or possibly a 2-1 if you could get a good shot on target for Onana.
So you're going to go for like a 2-1, 2-0, that sort of.
Yeah, I think if you can, because I mean, I guess my question would be like, where would you see the weaknesses in the Southampton side? Do you think, what would be the strengths and weaknesses of Southampton from what you've seen so far? And I know that might be
no, it's fine. It's fine, yeah. But it's kind of interesting because like what you're saying about possession-based football and not being able to score a goal pretty much sums up us up as well. So it's been an area of struggle for us. I mean, you've only scored 1 more goal than us. We've scored 1 goal in the latter minutes against Brentford away. Pretty good goal though. But yeah, it's kind of similar issues really. Sort of not being able to get many shots on goal. And I think the issue for us is the fact that we're setting up quite defensively. And actually that first game against Newcastle, where we had Newcastle had a player sent off. We sort of set up differently, where we threw on an extra winger and it threw us off balance, and it killed the game for both sides. So that was pretty disappointing. So I would say we've got similar kind of issues in not being able to put the ball in the back of the net, which will either make for an incredibly dull game of football on Saturday, or a very, very interesting one with both sides trying to control the ball and see what happens. Really,
I think that I'm unfortunately probably going to go more to the latter in terms of the dullness of the game, knowing how United have been playing. But I do think it's interesting that you say that they're because although Manchester United have had more possession, they've certainly not been more defensive. That's certainly something that has been, and that's something that SWAT actually exposed, because Ten Hag likes to keep the fullbacks really, really high, and often that ended up isolating. It's been happening quite a few times, happened against Brighton, where the number 6, in this case Casemiro, often gets isolated. So I think that if Southampton set up in an ultra defensive way, I actually think that would be a very, very bad idea to go, because then it would just leave the fullbacks, likely Dalot and Matstori, up top to just press and just push, hold on to the ball, and then allow hopefully the some the allow some overlapping to happen, allow crosses to happen, and basically just pin in Southampton. So if I was Southampton, I'm not saying Southampton go out all attacking, but what I would say is that because our passing is not great, so I think if they can hold on to the ball a bit, pass it around, show some control, and kind of just slowly build and be progressive and frustrate Manchester United, that's probably the way. But to be defensive and compact and do that for a long time and cede possession to Manchester United, that's probably not a good idea.
No, I certainly think we'll be both wanting to keep hold of the ball, but that's really cool. Right, one final question for you. Always like to throw in a wacky. What's your wild take on this season? Do you have any kind of outlandish predictions for the Premier League?
Is this either of our teams, or is this for
anyone in the league? And it could be something as mad as Man City are going to win the league. I mean, something as mad as that, But you get the idea. You get the idea.
Oh, I mean, is it really mad to say that I think Everton are going to get relegated? Is that wacky? I don't know whether that's wacky now, because it is, because they're a big club, but they're so bad that I just don't see them recovering. So it sounds weird. Like if you said it 5 years ago, people go like, "You're mad," but now it's like, no. So yeah, what I'll say is Everton will get relegated and Everton will finish bottom. Maybe that's the wild thing. I generally think that Southampton will finish ahead of Everton Football Club. I think that.
I like that. I would certainly like that. Nothing against Everton, just the fact that it just gives us one less team to worry about. But of course, West Ham have been relegated. Newcastle United have been relegated. Aston Villa have been relegated. So it does happen to big clubs.
It does, especially if the clubs are poorly mismanaged and in a lot of financial difficulties. So yeah.
Well, let's hope the money doesn't run out for you guys at United.
Well, where our new Ineos overlords will make sure that isn't the case. We'll see. We'll definitely see what happens. So but we're not going to be Chelsea. I know that for sure. Anyway.
Fantastic. Well, Omar-G, Red Devil Studio. Let us know where we can find you on the socials and all those kind of things.
Awesome. So thanks for having me on, Mike. Really, really appreciate it. Make sure you guys are watching. You like, share, and subscribe to his channel. So I'm over at Red Devil Studio. That's a Red Devil Studio over on YouTube. It's a Manchester United fan channel. We'll also do watch-alongs, match reactions, etc., and other football-related news. So head over there and subscribe to this channel. I'm also on Twitter at WeAreUnitedX as well. So give me a follow on Twitter as well if you like to.
And we certainly wish Old Man G the best of luck for the rest of the season after Saturday at about 3-4 o'clock. So, it's normal, But there it is. As always, remember, like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. All right, see ya.